All right, so here we are now with chapter 2. So hopefully you already watched that SAP video. If not, you're familiar enough to follow along when I employ it here in these exercise examples that I picked out. I tried to pick out a couple that had some distinct characteristics in terms of their structure and what type parts of speech that they use. So I picked out 3 of them from the Sententiae in chapter 2 of the 7th edition here. So yeah, I guess let's just dive right in. So with number 9, we have Philosophia est os vitae. Okay, so coming back from the SAP process, and I won't pull it up, but the first step, if you remember, is to circle the verb, right? So I think one of the first verbs you ought to learn when you're beginning Latin is sum, right? Sum est, right? In all its different forms. So one of its most common forms is est, all right? This here is an irregular verb, linking verbs, so you're just going to have to memorize those verb forms, unfortunately for you, but fortunately they're very common and they're not too hard to remember, to memorize, so it shouldn't take too long to do so. So est, if we're going down the order of things, is active mood, singular, present. I'll actually go down here. Present, indicative. I meant active voice, not active mood. Indicative mood. All right. And we know that sum, est, and all that means someone is, right? He, she, it is a sailor, is a carpenter. It's linking verb is when in present, right? When in past it would be was, and so forth. So we know that this means is. We know that's he, she, it due to the present singular. I forgot third person. The third person nature of this verb. So there's that one knocked out. That's all of step 1. That's the only obvious verb that comes out to me in the sentence. Seems like somehow I deleted that. So step 2 is to underline all the nouns. So your guess is that you start subject, object, verb spacing. So subject is typically at the beginning of your sentence, though not always. It tells you in the adjacent spot right next to the sentence that ars, artis, is a noun, which means art. We can see that ars and ars here, they match up, right? So this is its nominative. In the dictionary, you get your nominative, singular, and your genitive, singular. Your genitive being the one that picks out your declension, your nominative being the one that's usually can change or be different than normal. So this one's very straightforward. We have, instead of, we can underline that noun as well, and we have the tools to fill out the information about that. The last one that might not be so easy to pick out is vitae. It doesn't give it to you. I'm not sure if it's in the vocabulary for the chapter. Yeah, it probably is, or maybe you've already seen it in chapter 1. But good analog for this is like vitality, right? It's how full of life you are. So it means life. Yeah. Lifetime or life. So yeah. And I've actually got the dictionary pulled up here, so we can double check that. So, Philosophia, straightforward. Philosophy, I've already got that pulled on. Love of wisdom, literally from the Greek. The other one that we were wanting to see was vitae, which comes from vita. So the top one there, the noun, life, career, livelihood. Right, so we're on base with that. So, in terms of the nouns here, we have to find out gender, number, case, right? So, if we see philosophia and we see vitae, we'll start with vita since we have it up. We see that it's vita vitae, AE. As I mentioned, you get your nominative singular and your genitive singular when you look something up in the dictionary. And so this is the point where you have to reference your declension chart. I'll pull it up here for you. But your declension chart should be on the screen now. We know what declension it is now because we see that it's philosophia, philosophiae. Or sorry, we're on vitae. We know it's vita I first declension. So we know which two columns that we're looking at, right? Singular and plural. With that, we only have really two options. Right? We have genitive singular, dative singular. Right, those are the only two options here. I guess we also have nominative plural. But if we look at the sentence, we know that our verb is singular. So we know it's not nominative plural, right? That one's out. So it's either a genitive or a dative. So I'll write that above it. And we'll come back to this one. And so that's case. We know gender is feminine due to the declension. And we know it's singular, because it should not be a nominative due to the verb and its number. So let's go back to the very beginning. Philosophia, similar deal. Philosophiae. So your guess is it's nominative when it's in the first position here, and you would be right. That's nominative, singular, feminine. Very similar. Same declension as vitae. And finally, we have ars artis. We can see that ars is our nominative singular form. So we already know that this is nominative singular as well. The gender doesn't really matter, although I believe it's feminine. Okay. So we have philosophia S. So we know, if we're going to go ahead and start out this translator, we know our subject is philosophy. How do we translate S? Well, we figured out it just means is, right? Since it's present. Nothing special. So philosophy is what? Ars. Linking verb here. So instead of, you probably should have learned by now how transitive verbs take the accusative. When you act on a subject, you take the accusative. But when you're taking linking verbs like this, you stay in the nominative, right? I am a merchant. I am the subject throughout that sentence. So philosophy is what in this one? It's the art, or an art, the art. And this is where we come down to our decision here, right? Technically, it could either be genitive or dative for vitae. We know to translate genitive, we would say of, and the noun. And to translate dative, we would say to. So let's try it both ways. Philosophy is the art of life. The artistry of life. Or we have philosophy is the art to life. I think the genitive makes more sense here due to the kind of descriptive nature of it. But that is a subjective call. But there you go. So here's the first one, right? Easy. Second one, I'll go a little faster here now. So we have fama et sententia volant. throw on that macron there. So, volant, end of the sentence is a common place for verbs. Volant is our verb. We have sententia is a noun. Fama is a noun. Et is a conjunction, meaning and. Right? It's basically an ampersand sign here. So, similar deal. If you were to look at fama in the dictionary, I'll drop down our declension chart here since I am actually over, you can't see me. Sorry. Fama et sententia volant. So, like I said, underline both of those nouns and circle that verb. So, fama, it's in the actual chapter, but it means rumor, reputation, fame, as you can see. Sententia from the chapter, Sententiae, means a feeling or an opinion. I think opinion is the better way to take that in this sentence. There's no best way, but I think it's the better way. So fama, start, good chance of not a singular. We know it's feminine due to the declension, fama, famae. Same exact thing with sententia. Same declension, same nominative singular. The only question is, does this match up with our verb? Well, okay. Volant, it comes from, as we see, volo, volare. All right. Well, let's pull up our verb chart. And at this point in your journey, you'll probably be focusing more on the upper left side of this chart anyway. So if we take the second part, volare, drop the re, and add the ending that corresponds, we see that we've added an nt. All right, vola, volant. So we can, if we reference to our chart, you'll find that it is plural, third person, present, and then active indicative if you are worried about that. So we can just go ahead and translate this, right? We have our two subjects. That matches up. We have a plural verb because we have two subjects, fama and sententia. Not one plural word. So we have rumor and opinion, singular. Fly. Fly being a little poetic here. They cross the land far, you know, they travel very fast. They fly. Not literally though. Yeah, so last one. Again, speeding it up a little bit. So we have nulla avaritia sine poena est. Okay. So we have a different thing that we haven't seen here before, and that's a preposition. So, let's just start normally with our set, right? We see est. Same one we saw up there. We can go ahead and knot that out there so we know that's singular, present, third person, right? He, she, it, is. The book actually gives you avaritia. Tells you it's a noun. Tells you it's first declension by the AE ending in the genitive singular. And it tells you that nulla is an adjective and not a noun, so we won't be underlining that. We'll have to draw an arrow from that to a noun and determine where it goes. So last we have a preposition here. So start the bracket on the left, add the preposition, so left bracket there. And we go to the object of the preposition. There's only one noun left, one word left here in the sentence. That must be our object, right? All right. So I think the easiest way to start this one is to go with avaritia and break that one down. So we can see that avaritia, avaritii, we know that's our nominative singular form. Nothing special here. And it's feminine, which will be important in this sentence. We can skip sine poena. We've already done est, so nulla is our last one. We see it's an adjective. Adjectives agree in what? They agree in gender, number, and case. So let's see what gender number case we have here. We have nulla. So we have without a macron. So we see that it's us a adjective. Follows regular declension endings. Oh man, I left that verb chart. Yeah. Okay. I think you can still see it. So I'll swap out the verb chart. Right here. I'll swap on the declension chart here. So it takes regular us endings, okay? So we see that we have a bunch of feminine singular nouns. So we can go ahead and kind of make a logical conclusion where this is heading. And then double check that. So we see that it's A. My guess is that this being placed near it, there's no other noun kind of in the vicinity, but it's just going to be the same as that thing, right? Nominative, singular, feminine. Does that match? Well, we know it takes the us endings, so that means it can take the A and the first declension for nominative singular. So we're good on that. That's a check. So how we would translate this? Just start with our main, or actually one more, right? We have sine, just a preposition. We know that means without. Poena, very similar. I'll give you, or actually I'll look it up here, that way you don't have to trust me. This top one here means a penalty or a punishment or revenge. As you can see, poena, poenai, first declension. So the difference here is poena, it has a macron on the end of it. And so that actually does make a difference. If you look in your declension chart there on the bottom left, you'll see that the macron form shows that you will be ablative instead of nominative, which is good because sine is an ablative object. So we see that's ablative singular feminine. So we know that this does go together. So that's just a check, right? We had a feeling, but there's our check. So putting it all together, I'll start with the main subject and we can add the verbs later. Agreed. Actually, it might just be, we'll just start. So no, none, no greed. What? Est is sine poena. Sine without. Poena is punishment or revenge. So punishment or a penalty. There you go. Easy. So I think this is a good example of a couple SAP applications to more general sentence structures that you see in chapter 2, and I will see you guys in chapter 3.